Welcome into the DNVR Rockies podcast brought to you by Strava Craft Coffee. Remember to use the promo code DNVR25 because when you do that, you save 25% off your entire purchase of that CBD-infused, deliciously rich, and potentially life-altering Strava Craft Coffee. I'm your host, Drew Creasman. I'm the managing editor of DNVR Rockies. With me, as always, is beat writer Makayla Perkins. And joining us for this one, a very special guest to preview the Colorado Rockies versus St. Louis Cardinals series, and maybe, I don't know, dive into a recent trade that was made between these two teams. From The Athletic, we are very excited, humbled, and honored to be joined by Katie Wu.
Hey guys, so nice to be talking with you both about a totally normal and no possible storylines series.
Yeah, should be no drama to be had here. And as much as we prefer to refer to him around these parts as Josh Fuentes' cousin, because we do understand there's been a family relation there. We've got to start with the Nolan stuff. There's no other place to start. Katie, what can you tell us just about your following of that story as it unfolded, your reactions and the reactions that you observed as this trade that I think shocked most people ended up going down?
Absolutely. It's kind of funny because when the Arenado trade happened, I wasn't covering the Cardinals. I had the job application, I don't think had even opened. I was in the Bay Area doing Giants and A's coverage. So I think I was watching the Warriors game or something. And the notification pops up and I was like, oh, that's cool for baseball. That's a strange trade. The more I had most of the emotions of what is going on. But I was like, hey, good for the Cardinals. That's cool. And maybe Nolan will get a chance to win something there. And then about a month later, I found out I was going to take the Cardinals beat writing job, and I was doing some bare minimum notes. I hadn't really had much experience in NL Central, and I was going position through position on who were the big Cardinals guys. And I got to third base, and I was like, third base. Who plays third base? Oh my gosh. Nolan Arenado plays third base. So definitely, I think probably one of the craziest trades of the offseason. I also don't know if he could have ended up in a better place, and I'm sure we can dive into that too. But I was just as shocked as the rest of the baseball world, and then was shocked again when I realized that this is going to be a key factor in the team that I was covering.
It's it's a pretty wild situation to walk right into, right? To get a sense of that. What has been your sort of immediate sense of again the reactions there, whether it be other media people that you've talked to or some of the teammates, and just seeing what that early impact has been?
I didn't get a spring training to kind of see the implications of him coming in and how he fits into the clubhouse. But just from what I've seen, and this is just from Zooms alone and from being able to watch these games in person most of the time, he's fit right in. He's a clubhouse leader. He has the respect of everybody. And, there's a lot of guys on the Cardinals team that have a lot of status. Yadier Molina, Adam Wainwright, Matt Carpenter, Paul Goldschmidt. Nolan is right there. He's right in that group of guys that, you don't want to mess with. And my first taste of how he fit in on that club came in the second game of the season when the Cardinals and the Reds got into a little bit of a scuffle. And Nolan is the second or third person out of the dugout, and he's right in Nick Castellanos' face. And I was like, he's played 12 innings with this team, but he's riding for him. So, that kind of stuff doesn't go unnoticed. And you guys know what kind of competitor Nolan is and what kind of player he is, what kind of teammate he is. You guys know that just as much as Cardinals fans are finding it out. So it hasn't really been a surprise to anybody. It certainly has been a joy to cover just from an objective standpoint. He does something insane defensively every game. And, I don't even think his offensive production is bad by any means. It's just not the 5-tool power guy that everyone's expecting. So I think there's still a lot of hope and reason that he's going to be a key part in the Cardinals playoff chase. But one thing I haven't really adjusted to is anytime something goes wrong, like a very minor error or, a couple of walks, inevitably someone tweets at me, this is why Nolan's going to opt out of his contract. And so it's very clear that they don't want him to go anywhere. It could be the smallest thing, and they're like, oh my gosh, he's opting out. It's kind of funny, but also guys, it's May. It's May 7th.
So it'd be fair to say that Cardinals fans have pretty much fallen in love with Nolan already, and they're very much concerned about his status as a team member in the future.
Yes, absolutely. They don't want him to go anywhere else. I think his go-ahead home run on the home opener pretty much solidified the love that they had already. that was just like his I'm here moment, and they certainly hope he doesn't go anywhere else.
Yes. Well, speaking of that, go ahead, home run. He made some interesting comments that I don't know if you kind of were aware of the waves that were made, Patrick, in our chat here. He kind of upset Rockies fans a little bit out here in Denver with that curtain call comment. Did you get a sense that he was trying to kind of chirp at Rockies fans, or was it just like a good-natured this is awesome type of moment? And I just want to like give a shout out to Cardinals fans. What was your kind of vibe on that whole situation?
I didn't think there was any ill will. I think he was just so high on life, so high on the opportunity, because it really was a storybook moment. And I know Rockies fans are probably listening and they probably want to like bang their heads against the wall. So I'm trying not to make this too painful for you guys. I don't think there was any ill intent towards the fans of his old organization. I think he still very much appreciates what the Rockies fans and the support they've had. Of course, I can't speak for him. We'll probably find out a little bit more about that when he talks to the media today. But the take I got from that was this was such a cool moment with my new team and a new place, another organization. He'd only been with the Rockies, you know, he'd never been to a different organization. And he comes into a market that is very suited for him, and it's passion, its ability to win championships and always somehow put together a good team. And he delivered in a moment that was meant for him. So I think it was just an appreciation of the fans where he said, you know what, I'm here to play for you. I respect it. I love it. And we can share this moment together. I don't think that it was meant to slight Rockies fans in any way.
I think that's right. He just did. It's fine.
It just happened. It just happened anyway. No intent. But...
Hey, you know what? A lot of times in life, it's not always what you mean to do that ends up being what, as we all know. And I think there was a little bit of that. I think you're 100% right. We talked about this, right? The day those comments came out, that I'm sure he didn't think much of it. And I think that's part of what kind of irked Rockies fans, especially because we had people going and fight Katie. We had people like doing the unsolved mysteries, like finding the exact dates and times of his curtain calls. Like he doesn't remember.
I saw it. It's like a messy breakup, right? You overthink everything and you go back and you have all the receipts and you're like, but I actually did do this. So I feel it. But again, I didn't think there was any ill will there or any intentional slight of any means.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. I will say this, though, because I look more into a lot of the narratives and these kinds of things, and I've always believed that Nolan Arenado is a super underrated baseball player, especially when it comes to being clutch. He always seems to come through in those big clutch moments. You go and look at his high leverage on Baseball Reference, and it is again this year off the charts. Even when he's not hitting well, it's like he excels in those moments. And so my take before the season was that he was going to win NL MVP for the first time, because now he's playing for an organization that the voters can respect, and he's also more likely to win. And so while he hasn't been playing at an MVP level, I just need you to give me some reassurances that that's very much on the table. This Cardinals team is going to get their stuff together, that Nolan's going to win National League MVP this year. Can you just tell me that for sure so I can sleep easy tonight?
I can't tell you for sure, but I mean, it is not in the cards, right? You know, I think Nolan's success will be really indicative to the Cardinals' success. Those are two things that kind of go hand in hand. So, you know, and he didn't even have a bad April, and people are still like, oh, he's underproducing, and it was pretty standard April, actually. It's just not Arenado status. So we'll see. Well, I wish I could confirm it for you now. I bet Cardinals fans wish I could too, but I don't want to promise something I can't bring.
I will say, though, the one upside to Nolan going to a place like St. Louis is the fact that he will no longer get overlooked due to the unfortunate nature of Colorado being a small market team, you know, not getting a lot of coverage in terms of national media. So I'm just excited that finally Nolan will be getting the attention that he truly deserves as the generational talent that I believe he is. Because, you know, when you play for the Rockies, unfortunately, it's easy to overlook some of the talent that you bring to the baseball world. And I do feel like, whether it was the Coors Field bias or whatever else it would have been, people tried to discount Nolan for being a Rocky and for, unfortunately playing at Coors Field. And I don't think he has no room to hide anymore as a member of the Cardinals. And so for better or for worse, I'm hoping for better, though, he'll get that attention that he truly deserves, because I felt bad for what he had to go through with the media here in Colorado. I mean, I really do feel like, his talent was so overlooked sometimes. So at least that won't be the case anymore in St. Louis.
No, that's a great point. I mean, that's one thing why I think this market is so good for him and why the city of St. Louis is so good for him is because they care so much. I'm not saying that Rockies fans don't care by any means. Of course, every fan cares about their team. But this market is so suited because the Cardinals, they don't really tank, right? They don't really go out there and say, hey, we're not going to be competitive this season. And I think that is what has been the missing factor and maybe why we saw kind of that judgment that Arenado was kind of underrated. Now I feel like he will get that respect because we'll see it all the time, Oh, Coors Field, he can't hit at Coors Field. Well, he's hitting just fine at Busch Stadium. He's hitting just fine at Lone Depot Park and in Miami, hitting just fine and pretty much any stadium that they've been to so far. So
I'm shocked, I tell you.
You're right. Who would have thought? Gosh, not like he's a great baseball player or anything.
Right.
So.
No, yeah, and it's really important for people to hear that from you as well because they get sick and tired of hearing it from me. So, and then this is a great question before we move into a few I mean, it's going to be around everything, but from our guy KJ in the comments here. Do we anticipate any? He says shenanigans. Like I'll say it for you, KJ. Any beanball stuff. And with Austin Gomber on the hill in game 1, I don't think you can do that. If it was anybody else, I'd put it at like 50-50 odds, right? But you can't send Gomber out there to beat him. I don't know. What do we think? Any chance maybe a relief pitcher gets him in the late innings? Do we think the Rockies were that miffed by it, or is it just all smiles and handshakes and hugs and lollipops?
Oh man, I don't think I hope certainly there's no bad blood or any unnecessary drama. I mean, I think this coincidence in baseball happens so much. Like, of course, it's Gomber starting tonight. The only thing that could have made it more of a coincidence would be in Denver. But no, I don't think so. But granted, I don't know much about the Rockies organization. I can only come from a Cardinals standpoint. And I think Nolan is hoping, again, I can't speak for him, just for this to be as easy as possible, right? Because there's going to be a lot of emotion there on both sides and a lot of different emotions. So got to remember that these guys are human too. And yes, there's a competitive element, of course, but this is also an organization where he spent his entire career up until this offseason with. And whether or not he left on bad terms or whether or not that had anything to do with the front office, there's still lots of relationships in that organization that he made. And he probably is still very close to this day.
Well, speaking of our guy, Austin Gomber now, have you heard anything from Cardinals fans about, what that relationship with Cardinals fans was like, when Austin pitched for the team last year? Obviously you were not there in St. Louis when the trade went down, but is that a like piece that they're desperately missing? Do you know, obviously the return package that we got for Nolan was highly criticized here in Colorado.
I think that's the nicest thing you've
that
ever
was
said
really
about
nice.
The trade
highly
package.
criticized. That was very, very, very politically correct.
Are they missing any of those guys?
Yeah. Are they missing anybody?
I don't think so.
She couldn't give us. She wanted to. You could see she wanted to give us that and just couldn't.
I think it'll be cool. I mean, he'll see Gomber against Flaherty tonight too. Those are two guys that went through the prospect pipeline in St. Louis together. There's another storyline there. But I think Cardinals fans would give up like all of their limbs for Nolan Arenado. So the fact that they didn't have to do that is a win. I highly criticize is the nicest way we could put that trade. And I think the Cardinals side is quite happy with how that played out.
I unfortunately listened into the press conference that the Cards had after they acquired Nolan, and I think it was I forget who said it, but it was one of your front office execs, and they were like, we had some names on the table that we like really didn't want to have on the table, and we managed to keep them completely out of negotiation.
Came nowhere near the table.
They were floored the fact that like the names didn't even get brought up or requested. So I mean,
and then 3 weeks into the season, the whole reason that trade happened is no longer a thing, as you guys know. So.
Yeah, that was going to be my other, and obviously this is probably a question for if we had you on tomorrow, but it will be really interesting to see whatever Nolan's reactions are to the news that what we all believe was his biggest problem here in Colorado is no longer here. And that, we sort of feel like they maybe got that order mixed up, Katie. I don't know if you can understand the feeling here that maybe. So yeah, it'll be really curious to see what his response is, if any, to the fact that Bridich is out, because that's got to be an odd feeling for him.
Yeah, I have no idea how that's going to go. I am going to hopefully this question doesn't fall on my hands, whatever media member asks. I mean, if no one asks, I'm going to have to. So,
Right.
whoever is going to ask the question, just shoot a little shout out for them. They're going to need it. It's just, a lot to unpack there. And, I don't even think Nolan is into it. I think he really just wants to play baseball. Like he just wants to go out there and play third base and hit doubles. So it's a tough situation all around. It'll be interesting to see what he says for sure. Scheduled to speak really in the next couple hours or so. So we'll find out shortly either way.
We'll make sure to give you a shout out on Twitter if it's you that has to get the fall on the
Thank
sword
you.
and
Right.
ask that question.
He's going to be like, who's this girl that's been here for like 3 weeks? I haven't seen her in person. She
Right.
claims to be a reporter. Don't even know if she's a real person, right?
Well, like you said, it's a question that does need to be asked. But you're right. We've also compared it many times to a messy breakup. And, with the like videos that came out or whatever and stuff like that, it's like, oh, he was sending pictures to his new girlfriend while he was still dating us. That ain't right. But then, and this is almost like hearing that, like, just a couple of months after you split with your ex, they like fixed the big problem that was the reason you split up. And you're like, you've moved on. You're with someone else now. So it's like, how am I supposed to feel about that? I don't, it's really bizarre. Like there's no right or wrong way for him to feel about that, I think is the thing. But it is still a question I'm very curious to hear his answer to.
I agree. I think however he feels is completely justified. It's just, I don't really know what those feelings are. So
yeah,
we'll find out soon.
All right, Katie, Babe Ruth or Nolan Arenado, which trade is worse?
She's going back to Babe Ruth.
That's sad. That is really sad that we have to go all the way back. Is that really how we're going to view this trade? Like
yes,
that's not a good look for the Rockies. Oh gosh, you guys. I really am trying hard not to rub it in. I know this is a Rockies podcast. I'm not like coming on here to be like, yeah, the Cardinals are having so much fun, right? It's like, when you start dating someone else again and you post it all over your social media and you're like, oh, I hope my ex doesn't see. But like obviously you do. So
it's okay.
I don't know. I
we
think
love here in Colorado. It's our favorite.
You love pain.
Just live in the pain.
Yes.
All right, let me get a couple of ad reads in here. Having too much fun. Don't want to forget about stuff. Don't want to forget our friends over at Hassel Cattle Company. Makes up like 30% of my diet these days. Check them out. HASSELL cattlecompany.com. The Wagyu beef could change your life. It's absolutely delicious. It's not that expensive. In fact, some of it's cheaper if you take advantage of the deals than just buying regular beef at the grocery store. And the best news is no hormones, no antibiotics. They're treating the cattle well. They're treating your wallet well, and they're treating your taste buds well. It's a win-win-win situation at Hassel Cattle Company. Check them out for that Wagyu beef at HassleCattleCompany.com and use promo code DNVR10 to get 10% off. And don't forget that if you order over $200, you get free shipping. And of course, you know that this is just one of the many deals that come along with being a member of the DNVR.com. You got to sign up for that annual subscription today. When you do, you get access to all of the written content that we have covering the Colorado Rockies, Denver Broncos, Denver Nuggets, Colorado Avalanche, a couple of hockey teams, golf stuff, rugby, all that stuff comes with it. Plus, you get the discounts on the hats, the shirts, the masks, the bigger beer when you come down to the DNVR bar. You get access to our Discord channel where you can hang out and chat with us about baseball or movies or TV, whatever you want, 24/7. And right now, we'll hook you with a free shirt from the DNVR Locker and a free holistic stick from our friends at Holistic Wellness. Check them out, HOLISTIK wellness.com, and use promo code DNVR30 to get 30% off. But become a member of the family. It's worth it. Promise you. That's a lot of stuff for 1 year long subscription. All right. So back out there on the field. Well, let's actually get to this.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, is it going right now?
2:30 p.m. Central. It is 2:25. I knew this was going to happen.
All right.
So I sadly have to head out so we can find out what we just talked about, how Nolan feels about this whole situation. I wish we could talk longer. It depends on how long this will go, but I assume it will go long.
It will probably go for a little while.
If it ends up not going long, feel free to jump back on and tell us what happened. We're dying to know.
I will come right back in with a live report if I can. I'm so sad. I'm so sad this is going to happen. I thought for sure we'd be able to do the whole thing. But thank you guys both for having me. I hate to like dine and dash is what I feel like I'm doing here.
Oh no, you've given us so much time. We really appreciate it. We'll have you back on for some of the games and stuff we were going to play.
Yeah.
And like Max said, if we're still live when it's over, hop back
I'll
on.
check back in. I'll shoot you guys a text.
All right,
yeah,
cool.
Have a great rest of your show, guys. Thanks so much for having me on. And I'll keep you posted.
Thanks Katie.
Okay, bye.
Take care. Hey,
Doing calls.
Hey, that's part of this job. If I had a dime for every time the Rockies announced big news or announced that a press conference was going to happen right while I was in the middle of doing something. For all 4 big things that have happened this year, it couldn't have been worse timing for the Nolan trade. I mean, that was the worst one of all.
I was literally out at a bar when he got traded. I was like, what?
I'd been not feeling well that day. Those who remember, I was not on the podcast. Patrick did the podcast that day by himself. Very rare for me. We had a guest that day. Actually, Kristen was on, so they were great. Just wasn't feeling well. I was like half asleep. I'm sitting there on the couch, and then boom, Nolan's been traded. I'm like,
yeah.
Well, I can't not go live,
Yeah, and with the age of COVID, like everything just happens. Like there used to be such a regimented schedule to baseball. Like you knew when to get to the ballpark for availability before the game, like after the game, and now it's just all crazy because of COVID and things are last minute because everything's on Zoom, so people are just available whenever, and they expect you to be available whenever. So unfortunately, COVID has made things a little bit difficult in terms of figuring out timing, but duty calls.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but we appreciate her time. Again, everyone make sure you're following her on Twitter. I believe it's at Katie J. Wu, right?
Yes.
And all of her work at The Athletic, she's absolutely fantastic. We'll have to get her back to chat about some of these things. There's actually a couple. So this is what we were going to do. And I'll just talk about this stuff with you now, Mac. We're going to look around the league a little bit about some of the things. I guess I'll just talk to you or whatever.
Oh, sorry. You're stuck with me
now. But we're going to go around the league, some of the weird and interesting things that have happened recently, starting with this one here the other day. More Angel Hernandez shenanigans. Don't know if you saw this. So this is going to be a new segment. We'll get our graphics team on it soon. But did you see is what we're going to call this. Did you see Angel Hernandez screw up the call twice where apparently he had called that there's some back and forth about whether or not he called a catch here, but on a ball in the air that was not caught in this Royals Cleveland game, making everybody mad, sending the guy to third base when he just got caught in between. Terry Francona out there screaming in his face, then Matheny out there screaming in his face, Angel Hernandez making everybody mad.
It's just like status quo at this point. I'm sorry, like it's time for you to retire, Angel. Like, thank you for your very long service in Major League Baseball that has seemed to go on longer than it should. But please, for the love of God, let this be your last season and retire with your head held a little high. It's just egregious.
Was that like highly criticized? You're really working on the soft language today. I appreciate it. I know.
I'm trying to be nicer after I proverbially danced on Breitich's grave after he stepped down. So I'm working on being kinder. Okay, everybody.
When the karma points back, I like that.
But it's time for him to retire. That was egregious. That was just, I mean, I would say that I was shocked, but I'm not, because it seems to me that he has these horrible calls a few times a season now, and this just happens to be the latest one that made headlines because of how horrible it was.
Right. And it's, I complain about umpiring a lot. You all may have noticed, but there's also a difference between, missing some calls, having a loose zone, messing up a bang bang play, and then going to the review, doing all the things and stuff like this, which is when you're like inserting yourself into a play that didn't need you there at all. He would have done a better job if he'd done nothing.
Literally nothing.
If he just stood there with his hands in his pockets. It's like the next day he called out somebody, a Royals hitter. I wish I could remember who, on a check swing. And the guy just stood there and stared at, and again, it was such a minor, he didn't go at all. It's like, Angel, you're doing too much. Yeah. You don't have to involve yourself every time you've got a chance to ring him up. It's like, dude, no, don't involve yourself.
Doing way too much is the best way to put it. Like, the game is not about you. You're there to help the game go smoothly. And when your calls are doing the opposite of what your job is designed to do, it's time for you to find a different job.
Totally. Someone who did find a different job recently, well, at least he's doing his same job in a different place, moved around a little bit. We know, of course, spent many, I was going to say great years, but memorable years. We love Tony Wolters. We just do, and you can't stop us. Went to Pittsburgh for a minute, ended up in Chicago. But Mac, did you see? My dude, he would have been, if we had done the dude draft a few years ago, Wolters would have been my perennial like 3rd or 4th round pick in the dude draft, but thrown out, just your standard catcher trying to steal home, getting thrown out. Also, he was called safe originally. They had to go back to replay and be like, yeah, no.
Yeah, that wasn't great. I love it. I think it's ironic, and I think that's why I like it, because like there was a whole thing about don't dash on the stash, right? Like this is
right.
And so then he dashed with the stash and he got caught. So
that's so fantastic. That's exactly what happened. Right.
I love the irony of that situation. That picture hanging in the Louvre, it is hilarious. Yeah, I mean, come on, Tony, what are you doing? You're a catcher.
Right. What exactly did you think you were trying to prove there? One thing that we haven't really talked about, don't have a picture for this one, but did you see John Means for the Baltimore Orioles and a no-hitter? Not quite the perfecto. Oh, brutal that one got him.
Away from a perfect game, man. That one's got to hurt a little. I mean, obviously throwing a no-hitter for the first time in a single no-hitter. They had a combined no-no.
Right.
But a single player no-hitter for the first time in 59 years is awesome to see. I love that for the Orioles. The Orioles have had a rough stretch of years. So it's great to see, history obviously being made. John Means, so happy for that guy. Obviously, a third strike wild pitch is a tough one to swallow, but a no-hitter is a no-hitter. Congrats, kid. You did the thing.
Yeah, it's been a tough couple of decades for the Baltimore Orioles, but you're right. He did the thing. Super cool to see that come through and work out well for him. Okay, this isn't uploading, so what I'm going to do here is just share my screen on this one for a minute, and it's not the clearest picture, but this happened a little bit ago. It was definitely something we've been meaning to talk about, but oddly enough, the Rockies keep making news by like changing things around and hiring a new GM, doing that kind of stuff. But did you see Fernando Tatis Jr. hitting a home run off of Trevor Bauer and then covering up the eyeball, mocking him?
I did. I loved it. Fernando Tatis Jr. is my hero. I'm obsessed with this man. Just like, oh God, who was it? Why am I blanking on his name? The Dodgers pitcher that went like when he struck out that Astros guy last.
Oh, Joe Kelly. You're thinking Joe Kelly.
Oh
yeah.
I just blanked on his name. Hello, brain fart. Joe Kelly was my hero
last
season. Fernando Tatis Jr. is my hero this season. So for people who don't know, Trevor Bauer had this thing in spring training where he would close one eye and throw a ball and try to strike guys out with one eye closed. And so Fernando, knowing that he did that, when he hit a home run off of him, he closed one eye and ran around the bases, which epic. I mean, come on, that is hilarious.
Yes.
And then Trevor Bauer also does the K strut where he does like the
right
when he strikes someone out, and he did that. Fernando Tatis Jr. did that too after he hit another home run off of him.
Yeah,
I love that. That's what I want to see when I watch a baseball game. I love these young kids who have tons of spunk, tons of attitude, who are really, really good players, and they know that they're good players. And so when they do something awesome, they have every right to do stuff like that. I'm a traditionalist at heart, but when you bring in stuff like that just make the game more fun and make the game more exciting, I think that's where baseball needs to go. And Trevor even said that in his press conference. A reporter asked him about it. Like, how did you feel about, Tatis pimping those home runs off of you? And he's like, I love it. That's where the game of baseball needs to go. Thank you. Yes, I know. I don't know who the Bruce Springsteen is, but I loved it. It was awesome to see. I want to see more of it, honestly. hitting a home run in baseball is one of the hardest things to do, especially
Right.
against the Cy Young pitcher who, is having a great year. So keep doing it, Fernando Tatis Jr. It's the same thing like when he hit that grand slam when they were up like 11 runs. That was last season,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
And someone got mad at him for hitting a grand slam
His
when they
own
were up.
manager. Yeah.
Get over it. Like you're a Major League Baseball team. You're the best of the best. Like either learn how to be good or suck it when you get like taken advantage of because you're sucking on the mound. Like I love that type of stuff. I want to see more of it. Bat flips, pimp those home runs, even pitchers. Like if a pitcher gets a big strikeout, like walk off that mound like you own it. Like I love all that stuff, but I guess I'm in the minority sometimes.
You know what? It's interesting. There's definitely a generational thing here, especially in baseball. And I was one of those people that was raised, act like you've been there before. Don't show up your opponent, have some respect, put your head down and run the bases. There's no reason for all that. And I was sort of raised that way. And I respect anyone who goes about their business that way. But I've been, especially in football, I really am a convert on this. I remember thinking the same thing, like you just said about how hard it is to hit a home run. I used to think it was so stupid when guys would sack the quarterback and then do a silly little dance. But now that I realize like how you're essentially trying to sack the quarterback on every single play, and you might get there 8 times a year if you're really good, and it's just like, yeah, how many times do you step into the batter's box, swing and miss? Hitting is so frustrating. It's so difficult to do. You can do 10 out of 10 things right and hit the ball 115 miles an hour, and it might go right at the shortstop or right to the left fielder or whatever. And it's just like, so when you get it and it goes out, and I'm with you there, there's just that. And I'm glad you pointed to Trevor Bauer. You've got to give him the credit for coming out the next day and saying, yeah, he should be really, he got me. He got me. I got to take it. If I'm going to hash it out, I got to be able to take it. And so,
yeah. Well, I think too, it was the right pitcher to do that against because that's kind of Trevor Bauer's brand, right?
Yeah.
Like he's known for being very eccentric, very outspoken, doing things that kind of go against the status quo, always calling out Manfred, always speaking up in times where, players don't usually speak up, especially when that whole Astros debacle went down. So, I think if there's a pitcher to do it against, Trevor Bauer is a great one because that's what he's built his brand off of. Like we all know that that's the type of person Trevor is. So I think it would have been worse if he got upset about it because you can't dish it out and then not take it. Like that just that's a bad look for you. So I think even if he was upset about it on the inside, he couldn't say that because like, that's what his brand is. I don't really think that's how he felt. I think he was all for it. Like I really do. Because, with his whole company, his digital media company Momentum and everything that he's doing for the game, he really is trying to make the game more fun, appeal to a younger audience, get more people excited about baseball. And so you just love to see that kind of stuff. I'm glad it happened and I'm glad he was a good sport about it. And Fernando Tatis Jr., you are my hero. Thank you for providing that iconic moment.
Right. And as you said, it doesn't even happen. Like Fernando Tatis Jr. is not doing that if he takes Ryan Castellani.
No.
Yeah. Right. Like it was specifically, he knew who was on the mound and he knew what he was going to do if he took him deep. I promise you, Fernando Tatis Jr. went to the plate knowing what he was going to do.
Yeah.
Love it. I love it, man. You're right. The game needs that energy.
Yeah. And I'm just so excited for every Padres Dodgers series for the rest of the year. You couldn't before this year, you couldn't have paid me to watch a Dodgers game, but now when they're playing the Padres, I'm going to be watching every single game like it's the last game on earth because that was an electric series.
Well, if you need a perfect companion for watching a little Dodgers Padres or whatever the Rockies are doing, you may need it for this upcoming series with the Cards. I'll tell you what, our friends down at Solace Meds, they're absolutely fantastic. A premier dispensary for you guys, smoking hot deals, get it, for just the best herb in the world. 4 convenient Colorado locations and 1 in Fort Collins. Got 1 in Wheat Ridge, 1 off of Broadway, just blocks from East Colfax at the DNVR bar. So if you're down there at the DNVR bar, just head up. It's a couple of blocks drive up Colfax. Really fantastic stuff. They've got bargain deals this month. We're past Cinco de Mayo. So Mother's Day, you can buy 3, get 1 free for the entire store. Memorial Day, buy 3, get 1 free for the entire store. 20% off all Glacier concentrates. They got some fantastic stuff. 20% off CBN gummies. And all of these deals you can take advantage of and get an additional 20% off your entire purchase when you use code DNVR20 DNVR20 at checkout. Solace Meds makes your cannabis shopping experience a delight. Head to their website, view their order or their menu, order online, pick up at your convenience. Again, it's Solace Meds, SOLACE meds.com. And do not forget to use that promo code DNVR20 to save 20% at checkout. Let's see. Do we have any other did you sees around? There were a few other ones, but those were ones that we had seen. I wanted to get her take on the home run that wasn't, and Bellinger and Turner on the opening day for the Rockies. So if we can get her back on for that, that'll be a fun little did you see. But let's go ahead and talk about our thoughts on the flip side of this from the Rockies' perspective. Makayla, Austin Gomber does get out there tonight. Obviously he's going to be feeling all kinds of nerves as well. You hope, just get through that first inning, kid. Just get through that first inning, and I think you could have a decent night as your dude on your dude team. Excited, nervous, hope that he's going to show up big for the moment, or where you on the scale?
Yeah, I mean, I'm nervous. I'm nervous for Austin. I mean, this is a huge moment for this kid. I mean, obviously he needs not only a good performance tonight, just from, all the stakes that are surrounding this game, his first game back to Busch. He's the central piece that we got in the trade. And also he didn't have that great of a performance last time out there. So this is also important for like a bounce back type of storyline, right? Like you want to see him kind of do better than last time. Last time wasn't great. We got to shake that one off. But, I'm hoping maybe the familiarity of Busch Stadium will make him feel a little bit more comfortable. Right. I mean, obviously Cardinals fans are Cardinals fans.
they sure are.
Politically correct here. So no, I'm nervous for the kid. I think there's a lot riding on this game, and I think he's aware of all that's riding on this game. If he doesn't do well, he knows the narrative is going to be the Cardinals fans are going to be like, we won the trade, like ha ha ha, like you're not doing very well, like thanks for Nolan, have a good day. So I'm nervous for him. I think he kind of is aware of the narrative and the storyline coming into tonight's game, but I'm hoping, if the Rockies win this game, I'm going to freak out because if they don't win the rest, like if they don't win the series, I don't care. I just want them to win this game.
This
game is the game that is like a storybook marquee, like it's going to be a big game because Austin Gomber's on the mound. And this is the first game that Nolan is playing against the Rockies as a Cardinal. So, I mean, it's baseball. Like, of course, this is the storyline that we get, obviously. But I mean, how epic would it be? Like Joe said, how epic would it be if, Austin gets up there and strikes out Nolan? And I'm nervous for him, but I'm also just nervous in general. So
that moment's gonna be so when he steps in against Gomber, everyone's just, you're gonna feel the energy. It's just gonna be like, and like Katie said earlier, the only way it could be even more intense as if this game was happening in Denver. I wonder, I hope that will lead to a little bit calmer nerves from Austin. And in an odd enough way, I almost hope that the fact that the team's been so bad and they're just out of it and they're not like, he's competing for himself out there today. It's like you talked about, like he doesn't want the narrative to be, oh my God, look at this trash they got for Nolan. Like he's been aware of that from the beginning. He talked about that in his first interview in spring training with Drew Goodman and Ryan Spilborgh's Corey Sullivan. Like he understands that, that some people are going to think of him that way. So it's like, if he goes out there and throws 6 innings, 1 earned run, does get a K on Nolan, looks calm and cool and collected and in command, and the Rockies pull off the win, you're right. That would be the most delicious, tasty, hilarious irony. You don't care if they lose the next 2 games 15-0.
Nope.
Because that would be, I'm with you. Like, I want this one. I want this one tonight.
Just this one, please. Just this one. And 2, like, I kind of have this like weird protective thing of Austin, not only because he's on my dude team, but because like this is where we are now. Like this is our reality. Like Austin is supposed to be a big piece in the future for the Rockies in their rotation. And so he's our guy now. Like we've
Right.
processed, we've moved on. Obviously Nolan isn't a Rocky anymore, but Austin Gomber is. So just from that pure standpoint alone, the fact that he's got the purple and black on, I just want him to do so good. And I'm going to be cheering for him no matter what. I hope he can strike Nolan out twice. At least just have like a good starting performance. And then if the bullpen takes over and they do what the bullpen has done all season long, I don't care. It's fine. Like,
Right. Right. You just want the Rockies to have the lead whenever Austin Gomber leaves the hill after a solid start. That would be really nice, I think, for everyone involved. And so
absolutely. And it's even interesting too from the other pitcher on the mound. Flaherty and Gomber came up through the system together, and I'm looking at their stat lines right now, and obviously Flaherty has the edge on Gomber, but in terms of, they're pretty close, in terms of whip and strikeouts. Obviously there's a little bit of an ERA difference there. You could probably thank the last game Austin pitched for that, but
I think he doubled his ERA in the last game he pitched. So
I'm not
wipe that one off and say they're basically the same.
Right. So honestly though, if you take that last game out of the equation, they're pretty close. They're pretty evenly matched. Austin has a few more losses. Jack hasn't lost any, but a lot of those losses, unfortunately, there were a lot of other contributing factors to the reasons that he got the loss for those games. But if you take out the last performance, I'm not trying to sit here and tell you the fact that I'm trying to convince you that Austin's a better pitcher than Jack, but it's not like it's a dead giveaway. Like it's not like
total mismatch or something.
Yeah. I mean,
I agree. And as somebody who, remember, Jack Flaherty's on my superstar team. I took him at the beginning of the year because I thought he was good, and he's racking up those W's. I think he's like 5-0 or something like that. But the ERA isn't, Jacob deGrom 0.5 stuff. It's like you said, it's there, in the threes. You can score some runs off of this guy. It's where Gomber had been sitting until he got blown up in his last outing in the threes. And so you just go, okay, let's see who's got the better stuff tonight and which one of the offenses can lock in a little bit earlier. Obviously, the Rockies, after taking some games against the Giants, are feeling a little better about themselves. We'll see if Charlie Blackmon has really broken out of his slump or not. That'll be a huge factor. Obviously, I'm always looking for Ryan Maltapia to put his fingerprints all over a series. The last two sets, he's getting like 7 or 8 hits a series, and now he's starting to make impacts on defense and stuff. Like, this should be a really fun series.
Yeah, I think it is. Like, obviously, Katie, you kind of mentioned it. The Cardinals have been just kind of average so far this season. They're 9-8 on their home turf. And fun fact, St. Louis is slugging .398 this season, and Colorado is slugging .412. Wow. So we got them there, and Trevor Story leads the team with a .527 slugging percentage. Nolan Arenado's slugging percentage is .488. So, hey. Oh, no. And Nolan has 15 extra base hits and 5 home runs. And guess who also has 15 extra base hits and 4 home runs? Trevor Story. So,
and Ryan McMahon's been better than all of them in that category. So
exactly. So it's not like, we're going into this where like the Cardinals are way up here and the Rockies are way down here. Like, it's a
right. And remember now, the last couple of series, the Rockies have hit 2 really hot teams. The Diamondbacks had been playing really well going into that set, and the Rockies only able to get 1 out of 4. The Giants were the hottest team in baseball, first place in the National League, and it just destroyed them in the first game of a doubleheader. And then Rockies come back, win that set. So, the Cardinals, meanwhile, they've kind of been, they're, like I said, they've been struggling along. They've been, I think, kind of profoundly mediocre so far this season. And they're the Cardinals. They'll hit their stride at some point. These veterans, especially veteran guys who are really smart, those types of teams tend to start separating themselves in the middle of seasons when other guys are tired or they're letting mental mistakes get the better of them. A team that's got Yadier Molina and Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado and Adam Wainwright on it's just going to make fewer. Yeah. You just keep kind of going, right? There's like Dylan Carlson, a bunch of old guys on that team, but they're all still good, right? And so, like, I think they'll separate themselves, but not playing the best of baseball right now. So maybe you can get in there and take advantage.
Yeah, I think it's totally possible. Like I said, I don't really care if they win the series. I just want tonight. Just give us tonight, baseball gods, please.
That's fantastic. One thing that we know we're going to be doing tonight is hanging out on our DraftKings Sportsbook app, placing bets, looking at all kinds of stuff. Remember, you can do it before the game, whether you're picking winners or maybe the over-under on how many runs are going to be scored. You might be picking strikeouts for starting pitchers. That's usually fun, though Makayla and I are getting dangerously close to never, ever, ever betting on Rockies pitching ever again. Not because they can't be good, and they aren't sometimes. It's just a fact of the universe that whenever Mac or I put down a unit on one of these guys to take the over on the K's, if it's 5.5 and we take the over, 5 strikeouts that day.
Yep.
But you can go at bat to at bat. Sometimes that's a lot more fun. Whatever you're doing, you can bet in the other sports. It's just the absolute best place to be on that DraftKings Sportsbook app. It makes watching sports more fun, and sometimes it even fattens up your wallet just a little bit. I think you can still get in on this deal. You've still got time right now on the new one. If you download and you use the PROD is not the word. Promo code. I think it should be. I'm putting them together from now on. Use the PROD DNVR to get $1 off, or $1 off, to get $1 and turn it into $55 on this weekend's main event. That's right. You just pick the winner for this weekend's main event, and DraftKings Sportsbook will turn $1 into $55 for you. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. Frozen unfroze?
Yep.
Defroze? Fantastic. Yep. So yeah. Are there any? I was just bringing it up. I was going to see if they had anything for tonight, if there was anything that we liked on the DraftKings. As much as we're out here saying we want this one, I am definitely, this thing could go south in 10 minutes. Yeah. So I'm not putting down the Rockies for the W tonight. Though if you take them on the run line, you can get plus 185 for them to win by a run and a half. Let's see if they've got Austin Gomber strikeouts at 5.5. Again, we're not taking that bet and we're not advising anyone do it, but that's actually pretty interesting that DraftKings has him having a solid evening. Jack Flaherty only at 6.5, so they don't see him dominating the Rockies offense.
Yeah, good odds on both of them, or for the unders at least.
Yeah. Oh man, some interesting one. Pretty solid plus 520 for Ryan McMahon to hit a home run, and I feel like he's about due for one, so that could be interesting.
It is, yes. I'm trying to think too. Charlie Blackmon's plus 530, so right there with Rymac.
Yeah.
CJ Cron plus 430. I think Nolan might have the best odds at plus 380, but that's fine. We're just going to ignore that.
They feel like he's going deep for sure. Hey, if you think Nolan's showing up for the moment big and you want to take that, go right on ahead.
Please don't put in the universe. We're going to ignore it. We're just going to. How do
we have the opposite power? Like when we bet on Rockies pitching, if we bet on Nolan to hit the home run, will that make sure that he doesn't?
We should test that theory.
Emotional hedge.
We can curse them. Because we cursed
right
Rockies pitching. So
can you get anything on hits? Not really.
How do you feel about the total run line being set at 7.5?
Yeah, that seemed kind of low to me. Because again, as we talked about, and again, I think it could very easily turn into a quality pitching matchup for both these guys. But I still don't see Flaherty like totally dominating the Rockies. So both bullpens are going to get involved. There's a chance Gomber does show up, and look, folks, and it just the moment gets to him where he doesn't have the stuff, and he's a young pitcher, and he gives up the runs. So actually, I kind of like the over on 7.5, and it looks like that's the better bet at plus 100.
Are you thinking we're gonna get like a lopsided, one-sided dominant game in terms of offense? Are we looking at a pitcher's match tonight? Like what?
I wish I could place this bet in the second inning, because here's what I think. I think if Austin can get through the first, we're going to have a very competitive, close game between these two teams. And, both starters will go five or six innings. We'll have a 4-3 or a 5-3 ball game at the end of it, so that would, goes against what I was just saying about taking the over on the runs. But once the bullpen, but yeah, like I said, I've just got that first inning, man. That's what worries me, or even the first two, like getting settled. And we've seen him have that issue in both of his bad outings for Gomber this year. His first start at Coors Field, and as Makayla mentioned, the last time he went out there on the mound, it was basically from pitch one, he didn't have it. And if that happens to him tonight, this veteran lineup of dudes is going to make him pay for it. And so I worry about that. But if I could place the bet, if Gomber has a solid first inning, I'm like, okay, we'll be in for a good ball game.
Yeah. I definitely agree. I think the first inning is going to be very indicative of how the rest of the ball game is going to go. Aside from the higher chance that the bullpen's going to blow it if they still have a lead going into the later innings. But
right.
Oh boy, I'm nervous. I don't think I've ever been. I don't think I've ever been this nervous about a baseball game. I'm trying to think.
This one's okay. Yeah, I was trying to think to the last time. I remember being really nervous for the major league debuts of Eddie Butler and John Gray.
Okay.
Because I'd followed those guys so closely throughout the minors. In fact, have I thrown up that picture on? It's been a little while. My Facebook backdrop. I don't think it's there anymore, but for a very long time, it was a picture of me hanging out with John Gray and Eddie Butler at spring training when they were like in high A or something. So yeah, I mean, you have those moments, and I think especially for young guys, and this is a good one to be anxious for Gomber about. About his nervous.
My tummy kind of hurts a little.
Yeah, right.
That's just
those debuts.
Weirdo.
What about have there been any like debuts of guys that, because you were following the minors there for a while, so like in Arizona, were there any of those guys that came up and you're like?
I'm trying to think. I really honestly think the only game I was really nervous for, but this was just for a personal reason, was when the Yankees were in town in 2019, because I used to run ball strikes and outs for the Jumbotron. So I was recording like ball strikes, outs, like all that stuff. And CC Sabathia was on the hill and he recorded his 3,000th strikeout that night. And I knew before the game that this could be a big game for CC. And I was technically the person that recorded that 3,000th strikeout when I punched that out on the ball strikes and out machine. So wow. I think I was just nervous because I was like, oh my God, like this is crazy.
Part of history right now.
Yeah. The historical part of it was just weighing down on me. But I mean, I think too, I was nervous for Luke Weaver and Carson Kelly when they came over from the Cardinals trade, because the Diamondbacks traded Goldschmidt to the Cardinals. And that was a highly criticized move from Diamondbacks fans as well. And so I was nervous for, Carson and Luke to kind of do what Austin's about to do tonight. I was hoping that they could put up a commendable performance for their debuts. And that's kind of how I'm feeling for Austin tonight.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those more, you just don't want them to just don't kick it into the gutter, right? That's all you want.
Don't flame out, please.
Yeah. Patrick with an interesting question from us, not able to join us for this one, but asking, best scenario today, obviously Gomber dominates, Nolan goes 0-4, or do Rockies fans want to see Nolan do something good and still come away with the win? Or is it nothing? 2 errors at third base.
Yeah.
She's going the whole thing.
Two errors at third base and a golden sombrero will do it for me.
Love it.
I'm petty. I'm the petty queen. I love to be petty. So, I'm just jaded, but I'm the same as Bryce. I'm just nervous. Like, I care so much about the Rockies, and I just want them to, go out there and shut Cardinals fans up, whatever that takes.
Right. There's that other element too of even outside of Austin Gomber, just from a Rockies fan perspective. And we've talked about this a lot on this show, obviously, but as you just get sick and tired of being the butt of every joke, of being the team that doesn't count, of being the team that's different than everybody else, that everybody else looks down on, and all this other stuff. And so when you're, and I'm with Patrick, you could add that in as well. Rymack having a great game, I think, would also be a little bit of a thumb in the eye to him, if you want to say, what? Oh, I don't know. Have they? I'm not sure they've posted the lineup yet, actually.
That'll be
Fuente's doing well. Or like Fuentes, it's like Nolan strikes out 3 times, and the one time he puts the ball in play gets robbed by Josh Fuentes.
That's the only time I don't want a golden sombrero. If I can't get that, then I want Josh Fuentes to be the reason that Nolan gets out.
Right. Exactly right.
Just
But
all the petty situations that you could possibly imagine. I want to see all of it. All of it.
all of it. Because it is ultimately like you want to show him like, hey, we got a Ryan McMahon, and he's not Nolan Arenado, but he's having a better season right now for a minute, and he's great, and he's a great young ball player that we get to be fun and excited about too. And if you get to, you almost feel like you're showing off again, not to going back to that old relationship analogy, but it's almost like, you're gonna be in a place now where your ex is with their new partner, and you're gonna be with your new partner, and you're just like, just want this to be a good showing. Don't want to show up and everyone be like, oh man, dating the guy who covers the Rockies. Oh man, the Rockies guy.
Yes. Oh, Katie Wu is done in a press conference. She might be joining us.
Okay. We'll see if we can get her back in for a little live reaction
update
at the end of that. Let me do one last ad read here then. Let y'all know about getting Manscaped. Look, fellas, it's 2021. There's no excuses anymore. You don't want to be the last one still going full 70s bush out there. No need for that. It's time. It's well past time. Get cleaned up, feel better, smell better, be better. Get Manscaped. You can get 20% off plus free shipping when you use promo code DNVR at manscaped.com. Getting that lawnmower, trim it up, get some spritzer, some deodorant, smell it up. Nope, leaving it. Get that most comfortable pair of boxers you've ever worn in your life. I can personally attribute to that. Go to manscaped.com. It is time to join the 21st century. It's well past time to get this done. Fellas, trust me, you don't want to be the last dude not Manscaped. So head there today, use the promo code DNVR and get yourself 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com.
Katie Wu is indeed on her way back.
Fantastic.
Oh boy, here comes the tease.
Oh man. Live and hot off the presses.
I'm back.
Hey, how'd it go?
Honestly, there's a lot to unpack. I'm gonna have to listen like 3 or 4 times, but no ill will. It went exactly how you would imagine Nolan handling things. Didn't have a comment on Bridich leaving. He said he found out a couple days ago and was surprised, but really left it at that. But I think the biggest mic drop had nothing to do with the Rockies or the Cardinals, really. I'll just read my tweet here. He spoke to reporters about 15 minutes, both Colorado and St. Louis media. And after he finished talking, he asked if he could say one more thing. I'll just read it. He said, Albert Pujols, I love you, man. You're one of the greatest to ever play this game. I hope you get to go out the right way. I'm a huge fan. I hope you hear this one day because you're my favorite player. And that's how he ended his press conference. So it's a lot to unpack. A lot to unpack there.
Well, how can we be mad at him now?
I didn't want to hear anything positive.
We were just so ready for the blood curdling.
Clearly his note, he was talking about how he still stays in contact with the guys like Trevor Story out there. He mentioned his cousin Josh, of course. And, he says he stays in contact. There's a lot of relationships he had with the trainers and medical staff that he still has good relationships with. And, I can't remember who asked this question. It was a wonderful question on his experience, if he would ever, deter someone from going to Colorado or their experience going through if they want to send a long-term extension there. And he said, I would never say don't go to Colorado. Everyone has to make their decision for themselves and do what's right for them and their family. But I would never say, no, don't go there. That's just not right. So, he very much made it clear that, yeah, sure, there's an emotional connection here, but not as much as everyone is trying to make. It's not like he's playing in Denver. It's his old team, but he's in St. Louis and he just wants to go out there and win. He's like, I want these guys to be successful, just not this weekend. So very, it was very much what we would expect from Nolan and the way he handles things. So I just thought the Pujols note was interesting, of course, as no one seems to know where he's going to go and who knows where that's going to be.
Yeah, that is. That's a very classy. And I'll even say, I'll pull the curtain back a little bit. There was a conversation Makayla and I had right after a show at one point where she was just asking me for my most blunt, because I covered Nolan for 7 years and had very many one-on-one. This, but before the pandemic, when you could just walk up to a person and talk to them,
Memories.
And right. And, was there any of these? And is that, he was always such a class act in giving us his time and in taking the time. And I do disagree with some of the things that he said. And I don't think that he handled things especially well on his way out of town here. And I don't like the video stuff and all of that or whatever. But human to human, I've always known that he cares about other people, that he treats other people with respect, that he treats other people well. And for him to go out of his way in a press conference where everyone just wants to hear about him and his old team and all this other stuff and say, our Pujols is one of the greatest to ever play this game. And can we all just take a minute and recognize that? It's like, damn it, Nolan, why you got to be such a cool dude? Still. The curtain call stuff was nonsense, but yeah, no, that's great to hear. Wildly Innocent, our guy coming in with kind of what you were saying. He said he was surprised, didn't have a reaction, not there anymore. What am I going to do about the Bridich stuff? So it's kind of what we were talking about before you went in, right? What's he supposed to say?
No, really, his time is over. He really stressed how much he loves playing for the Cardinals and the guys he plays behind. Again, Yachty and Wainwright, when you play behind those guys and the status they have in baseball, but especially in St. Louis, where they've spent both of their absurdly long careers. It's just a place where he wants to be. And I don't think that he necessarily has any ill will towards the fans again. But he felt this was the best move that he had to make for him. And he seems to, he said in spring training when he put the uniform on, that's when it kind of solidified it. And now that he's been there for over a month, it's more like, this is the decision I made and I'm confident in it. And I'm happy to be here. So, sometimes it's about closing the book, right? It's way easier said than done, of course. And I can't imagine anyone really closing the book on a player like Nolan for so many reasons, like you just said, Drew.
Were you the one who had to fall on the sword and ask the question about the Bridich news, or?
I had my hand up. To do my job. But a couple of reporters beat me to it. One was Patrick, I think. But it was a good conversation. It went exactly how you would imagine it going. Yeah. So just handled with a lot of class on both sides.
I'm surprised. He said that he found out a couple days ago.
Yeah, I think the direct quote was a few days ago. I don't know how loose the term "few" is.
Okay.
So
interesting.
All right. Okay.
I mean, he's not on social media, so it's not like he's immersed in that world as much as we are. But yeah, that's interesting to me. I figured it just, I guess from an outsider-ish perspective looking in, the blood between those two was so bad. Of course, I wasn't expecting him to go out there and slander Bridich. It's like beating a dead horse. He's not employed anymore. Like, what's the point? But yeah, that's interesting. I'm a little surprised by that. I don't know. Am I wrong to be surprised by that, Drew?
I thought he might say something to the effect of, and I'm not even quite sure what, but just like, because he was so blunt and the disrespectful comments, but in the year before, he ended up getting traded, coming out and saying, I feel disrespected over there. And then people asking him for clarification. Who do you mean? Oh, what do you mean? And then, okay, yeah, it's Jeff, and so I guess I'm not sure what I thought he would do, but maybe say something like, yeah, we never really got along, him and I, but let's let bygones be bygones or something like. I expected him to be nice about it, but maybe acknowledging the fact that was an issue, but trying to be the bigger person. I get it. Also, it's not to overextend the relationship analogy or whatever, but it's always a little bit easier to do that when you're the person who's decided to move on, when you're the person who made the decision to go somewhere else and be somewhere else. Now people are like, man.
Exactly. Katie, right before you hop back on, we were previewing tonight's game. What are your thoughts? Pitching duel, offensive blowout from the Cardinals. What are you thinking here?
Well, the Cardinals always score a ton of runs whenever Jack Flaherty is on the mound. He's 5-0. He leads the National League in wins. And this is a semi-streaky offense, definitely not as streaky as they were in April. But if they start hitting home runs, they're not going to stop. So, and they always seem to do that when Flaherty's on the mound. So we'll see. I would imagine just the way that the sport goes, Nolan does something very Nolan-ish. And, I just remember this from the press conference. I do want to say he made it a point to say that he was not miserable in 2020. He's playing hurt, but he was like, 2020 was hard for everybody for a lot of reasons. So he's like, I wasn't like not not happy there, but he was playing hurt in a weird 60-game season that didn't even feel like a season really, with all these rule changes and just pretty much ramping up. So I think he really did try to stress that there wasn't, he's no ill will and trying to be the bigger person. Now he's a competitor at the same time, and that competitive nature is going to be on display. And you guys know, Nolan it doesn't matter who he's competing against. He wants to win, and he is going to show that. So I hope that doesn't get crossed up as some bad energy or ill will to his old organization. Although I'm sure if it does happen, that will be something talked about. But really, I'm excited for this. The Cardinals are playing some really good baseball right now. I know the Rockies just came back through a big series with the Giants, who apparently are good this year. I didn't know that.
That's what I was saying. How are the Giants good? Who is on the roster that is making them good right now?
I guess, the same guys, Buster Posey, Evan Longoria, who would have thought?
Buster Posey has found the fountain of youth, but I did not have Anthony DeSclafani down as an early Cy Young candidate and stuff.
Or, they don't even have like Yastrzemski, right? They don't have Yastrzemski right now. So.
I don't know what's going on with the Giants, but yeah, somehow the Rockies figured out a way to beat those guys. I'll give you this question for in the future because I just want someone to ask him this, and I'm not sure. Nolan was always a huge video guy and like video during the games guy, and last year in 2020 they didn't have that because all the pandemic stuff that was going on. And I always guessed that in addition to the injury, one of the reasons why he had a year that was truly bizarre for those of us who've watched him play for so long. I'd be very curious what he has to say about like getting back to a spot where he's got that constant video review, because he's such an intelligent, cerebral hitter that I'd be willing to bet that's going to make a difference. And the deeper he gets into the season, the better he's going to be for it. So
that's a great point, man. This is why we got to keep talking. Why all us baseball people have to keep in contact, because that's a fantastic idea and something I never would have considered. So you're probably onto something there, Drew.
All right. Do you have a final prediction for the score tonight? Who do you think is going to take it? What do you think the final score is going to be?
7-4 St. Louis.
Okay.
7-4 St. Louis, and Nolan will do something. I said last night on this Reddit thing that I did that he's probably going to homer. I don't know if I'm going to stick with it. I know he'll definitely homer during this series. There's no way that doesn't happen. If it does happen tonight, though, I guess I'll know my game story, but someone will homer though, because just the trend is when Jack's on the mound, they can't not hit. It's quite absurd because then everyone else pitches and everyone's like, "Where's the runs?"
Yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned the run support that Flaherty has, though. I think Flaherty has the run support that DeGrom wishes that he had. But
they were actually talking in the outfield yesterday, and I was like, I wonder if they're talking about run support.
It would have to be. What else? I have both of those guys.
What can I tell them so that they can help me out? I
was like, dude, what's your secret? What can I do?
Both those guys are on my superstar team. Before the year, we did a draft with ourselves, Patrick, and our golf guy Spencer, and we each took 5 players throughout baseball. Based on who we thought were going to get wins as pitchers, hit home runs, and then potentially win the big awards, Cy Young and MVP. I took Jacob deGrom with the first overall pick. I'm waiting for that Cy Young because those wins are not racking up for me. But Jack Flaherty doing the job on the wins for me. I appreciate
He's getting the wins. He's getting the wins. He's getting the offense. So we'll see. I expect it to be, it should by all means be a pitching duel, which means that it probably won't be. Right. That's what I've heard and what I've learned so far in this month in St. Louis. Every time I think something's going to happen, the exact opposite does. And you guys got to see, right? I thought this press conference was going to be at 4.
Right. Baseball.
We got to love it.
I did have one last thing. If you've got just a minute to give us some insight for any Rockies fans or Cardinals fans, I guess, but who might be out in St. Louis for the first time out trying to enjoy this game. What are some can't miss? And we know you're newer to the area, as you mentioned earlier, but just in your, immediate reactions to what's there to go around. What are some can't miss St. Louis experiences, or even at the ballpark down at Busch Stadium?
I really like Ballpark Village. I joke all the time I'm going to take a day off just to go to Ballpark Village and embrace that element. If you are into like baseball and party, like not necessarily party, but kind of party, like good, fun natured. It's outdoors for those of you that are worried about too many people. They have like
Rocky fans right now.
Yeah. They have
outdoors.
They have a DJ. Lots of fun. All their restaurants, they have all the open windows. Because I'm still like trying to be relatively safe and stay outdoors as much as possible. But Ballpark Village is a really cool place, really good shops. The Cardinals Hall of Fame Museum is there, something very nerdy that I want to go to. And then if you're into a more like low key vibe, on the other side of the stadium under the freeway overpass is a place called Patios. Seems to be like a really happening place to grab a drink before a game. I wouldn't know, obviously. But there I see a lot of people filing in or stumbling in from that side too. So if you are in the mood for beer, of course, you can grab a Budweiser or 4 or 6 right outside. There's a lot to do there. A lot of good food. A Starbucks. I know the Starbucks area well. That's about all I know about Ballpark Village.
If you, I would know too, Katie. You were speaking to a kindred soul over here.
Yes. And then like there's a Hilton with a rooftop bar. You can always see into the park and everything. There's some fun sights. You can see the Arch. That's very St. Louis. But yeah, I really, the downtown area is kind of sleepy. There's not really a lot going on, but by the stadium, it's really happening. It's a fun place.
Yeah, I think Ballpark Village, I had the privilege of going to St. Louis 2 years ago. Ballpark Village is incredible. I think, that's something that our owner, Dick Monfort, is trying to build around Coors Field now with his new development that's happening. But if the Rockies can mimic something like that and also be good at the same time, that would be incredible.
It's the,
just the balance.
Right. Because Ballpark Village is insane. Say what you want about St. Louis fans, but they really care about their team.
They do.
The Cardinals and the Blues both. So it was cool to see that environment of fans that are just decked out in Cardinals gear and just showing up in every way possible. But I hope, Dick Monfort and his equivalent of Ballpark Village out here in Colorado can kind of amount to something at some point whenever the Rockies can kind of get the on-field product together.
It'll all come together, one step at a time, right?
There you go. It all lines up eventually. I lied. I've got one last one for you.
Okay,
we did do so much Cardinals talk, and it unavoidable or whatever. But are there any Rockies players that you are looking forward to seeing, getting a closer look up here? That you've got any kind of like, oh yeah, but I've been hearing so and so has been having a good season over the last couple of years, and I really want to see that.
Honestly, and this sounds bad because I'm a baseball writer, I am surprised every time a team comes in and I see the lineup on the other side, because it'll be like 3 players I didn't even know were on the team. And I'm like, oh my gosh, totally forgot about that.
Baseball's just that kind of game. Every year a team rolls through and I'm like, who? What?
Yeah, I'm like, wait, when? I don't know if there's anyone in particular. I'm just I'm excited to see the camaraderie between Nolan and his old teammates, and the bonds there, because those bonds, they don't really break regardless of what happens with an organization. That organization has been with him since he was 18, and a lot of people have moved on, but there's some big teammates there, and a lot of his friends there, and I'm excited to see that good nature. There's always that kind of emotional stuff that as baseball fans we get really excited about and worked up about. I just hope it's a good series.
Nolan and Charlie is going to be epic. I'm just going to say that's going to be a phenomenal hug moment.
Do you think that Busch Stadium will play Charlie Blackmon's walk-up song even though he's a visitor? Because it's the best.
I wish.
Can you put in a word? Can you ask? Can you walk
Should
down
I put in a little note to scoreboard operations? Hey, can you just do this for me real quick?
It would be. They really should. They'd be fantastic. Will Cardinals fans give a big ovation to Austin Gomber, or is that even something they know? We talk about how smart they are. Are they going to recognize?
I don't know. This team and their curtain calls, they give a lot. Matt Carpenter is like 2 for 3 with home runs and curtain call ratio. It's crazy.
What is this? We got Rockies fans because, they always go the other way. We had Rockies fans going, I think they give curtain calls in St. Louis for a ground out from, to second base that moves the runner from second to third. I think they give a curtain call.
Hey, they like fundamental baseball. What can I say?
I love productive outs. I shouldn't talk trash. All right. Well, Katie, this was a whole lot of fun. Of course, we're a little bummed that you missed the middle segment of it. At the same time, you got to bring us live news, hot off the presses, immediate reactions. So
you guys can see how bad my memory is. I was struggling.
You killed that.
No. That was fun, guys. I'm sorry you had to deal with my insane press conference schedule. But, for those of you watching now, you can see what it's really like to be a sports reporter. You can have everything planned out. It does not matter. You're in no control of your life in any way. So
That's right. That's one thing that we figured out in the household is like, can you do this or that chore? It's like, as soon as this inning is over, when's that going to be? Could be the next 2 minutes, could be a half hour from now. The Giants scored 10 runs in the first inning the other day. It took 27 minutes.
Oh God, can we not talk about
That's actually really impressive. That is a good stat. I wouldn't be mad about that. I think the Cardinals had an inning yesterday or 2 days ago when it took them 27 minutes just to get 2 outs. So,
oh man, the walks. That's one thing that we can come together. What's the meme, the handshaking meme?
Yeah,
Rockies
handshake.
pitchers, Cardinals pitchers,
that
walking people. I hope we don't see that. Let's throw strikes this weekend. Can everybody agree to throw
strikes, please,
this weekend? You got to catch all of Katie's stuff on Twitter. Follow her at KatieJWoo. Read all the stuff on The Athletic. You're doing absolutely fantastic work. Anything else? Any projects you want to plug? Rock and roll. Anything you're working on? I'm such a bad plugger. I will say, and Makayla could obviously back me up. Obviously, went to undergrad at Arizona State. So pork 'em, go Devils, and that's pretty much it. And that's my only plug. Is my favorite time of my life is Arizona State.
Hell yeah.
Fantastic.
Sun Devils.
Forever.
Well, we really do appreciate. We'll have to have you back for one where we do just play some games and we don't have to talk any drama or any controversy or anything like that. We can just have fun and talk some baseball. We'll have you back for sure later in the season. We really appreciate your time. Make sure you're following Katie, as I said, and following The Athletic. You're following all of us here on social media at Drew Creasman, at Makayla E. Perkins, at Patrick D. Lyons, and at DNVR_Rockies. Make sure you're following the TikTok. Lots of fun content going on there these days. And that you're subscribing to the DNVR.com for all the things. I'm not going to list them again. Go back earlier in the podcast. You get a lot of stuff for subscribing to the DNVR.com. Not the least of which is you just get to be a member of the family. We appreciate each and every single one of you for being absolutely awesome out there. We promise to continue being absolutely Makayla Perkins, Katie Woo, and Drew Creasman in here. And until next time, we will see you at the ballpark.